Welcome. I'm happy to be here to share information with you today. There's lots of information here, and we will have information that you can download. It will be sent to you at the end of this program. So I assure you that there will be references that you can actually read and see. But let's start first of all and talk about what is home fit. And home fit is making your home safe and livable for all. And it's the kind of thing, as was mentioned earlier, so many of us want to remain in our homes forever, but we need to make them livable and safe. So today we're going to talk about the perks of making your home safe, home fit. We're going to talk about universal design, and universal design means that it creates an environment that is safe and that all ages can live comfortably and safely in that environment. And we're going to do a home tour. We're going to go room by room and give you some ideas and point out some areas that you need to focus on. But you will also notice as we go that there are some green stars that appear. And when those green stars appear, it means those are items that can be easily done. Much of what we're going to talk about today really needs to be done by a professional, but we're going to talk more about how you weigh and balance that decision as well. So let's talk about our objectives for today. We are going to recognize how your home can be modified to support the changing needs and lifestyle at any age. And we say that because those of us who are senior citizens know that as time goes on, our needs will change. Our interests are going to change and our lifestyle will change just because that's the way things are. And if there are health issues involved, then that becomes even more important to focus on the safety of that environment in which you live. But you also, it's not only the person who is resident in that house, but it's the visitors. Because as we age and we want to stay in our own home, we don't want to be cut off from the world. We want to be able to have our children and grandchildren and friends come to the house. So it has to be equally safe for everyone who comes into the home. We're going to look at which modifications are important for maintaining the lifestyle that's desired. And we're going to talk about modifications that you could do yourself or maybe get a handyman to do, or those that are best left for a professional. And while I'm thinking about the possibility of calling in a professional, I would suggest, and I'm sharing this from personal experience, I remodeled a kitchen 15 years ago in a different house in California. And I had this great idea about what I wanted done. But when I called in a contractor and told him what I wanted to do, he said, "Hey, wait a minute, why are you doing this? If we do this and this and this, then it opens up this other possibility." So what I'm suggesting to you is to think about these things, come up with your list of how you want it to do or what's important to you, and then talk with a professional. And again, I would get at least 2 estimates on anything. And you also get 2 sets of ideas that come with that as well. So let's, and also, well, let's move on and then I can talk about that too. Okay. In talking about how you're going to make your decision, there's cost involved. And I was just talking about the contractors. If you have to call a professional to come in and do it, it may seem like a lot of money when they tell you what the cost is, but you really need to balance what is the cost of this modification against what is it going to cost if you move into a retirement site. So these are some figures. These were 2019 figures from Glenworth as to what it costs, and they're monthly figures. So keep this in mind, that if you need to hire a health aide, it's going to cost between, in the vicinity of $5,000 to $6,000 monthly for that person. Adult care rates, and again, this is the daycare rates. That's if you go to a place for daily, and this is assuming the pandemic ends soon, where you can go to a place where there is an activity, all kinds of activities, and probably lunch provided, and so on and so forth. And you see what the figures are here, around $1,200 to $2,300 a month. But if you go into an assisted living facility, you're looking at $4,000 to $6,000 range. So you've got to take a look at this as a monthly basis. How much is that a year, and how is that going to balance out against whatever the costs of modifications might be? If you have to go into skilled nursing facilities, it's much more expensive, as you see there, $9,200 to almost $9,200 to almost to almost $13,000. Also, if you have a licensed practical nurse that has to come to you, the median national rate is $87.50. So you need to take a look at the overall cost, get some help from somebody who has financial experience if you really need to do the tear and compare on it, and then make your decisions accordingly. Now, if you're going to make those changes, we suggest that you make them soon if you're going to stay in your house, so you can enjoy them longer, and it will also ensure your safety in a better way. And if you're going to make changes, we encourage you to think carefully about what you're doing so that it doesn't make your home very difficult to sell at the end. Things such as don't leave your house without any bathtubs. That might be harder to sell later on. Or doing something where you block access to part of the house and it's not convenient. So you've got to take a look at it from the overall picture. So let's talk more about universal design. And with the universal design, I've already said it a number of times, we're looking at livability, and we're looking at visitability, because again, you want to make sure that visitors in your home are safe. And another thing that I think you need to consider when we talk about universal design is the issue about falls. We talk about safety. We want to make sure that you are safe and that the visitors in your house are safe. So let me point out how important it is to try to prevent falls. Nearly a third of older adults fall each year, and 2/3 of those are likely to fall again within 6 months. Now, those falls can cause breaks. They can cause all kinds of serious, long-lasting effects. So it's very important to try to prevent that. And every year, there are roughly 30,000 people who die as a result of falls. So keep that in mind, fall prevention. Okay, moving along. Let's see where we're going next. Let's talk about, oh no, I think it's Anne's turn.
Well, thank you, Lee. I appreciate
Sorry
it.
about that.
No worries, no worries. In fact, we're going to start our home tour now, but we're going to start with the exterior. So whether a residence is a house or an apartment, its exterior doorways should allow a smooth and even transition in and out of the property. Now, many homes, of course, have entrance steps, which can make the home inaccessible to a person who uses a wheelchair, a walker, or otherwise has difficulty climbing stairs. So the ideal for all homes is to have at least one zero-step exterior doorway. So if step-free access isn't possible from the front of the home, potentially a side door, a back door, or a door located inside the garage may be a suitable substitute. Or another solution is a ramp. So let's take a look at some of these options. A zero-step entrance can be created with landscaping if your property allows that, by adding sloping pathways as shown in this diagram. Using landscaping to create a zero-step entrance, of course, needs the help of a professional landscape architect. Keep in mind that you'll have to determine whether or not it's practical to create a zero-step entrance because of the particular landscaping and the size of your yard. So this is a project where you'll need to consult a contractor and or an occupational therapist to discuss your options. Occupational therapists can be very, very helpful, not only in the design aspects of your home, but in all the little ways in which you can help prevent falls and to make things more accessible in your home. So that's one of the things that we'll touch on a little bit later on. So moving on to the next slide, when a zero-step entry can't be achieved, there are ways to make steps safer for all. So they need to be well lit, free from obstructions, and have railings on both sides. And the railing should extend past the last step to ensure a safe transition for all people. Generally, where space allows, steps can be adapted into walker steps, which have deeper treads to accommodate walkers, and they have short risers. Walker steps are generally 22 inches deep and 4 inches high, and this design allows those who use a walker or a cane to easily and safely utilize steps and can be a good alternative to ramps, which we'll discuss in the next slide. When a zero-step entry can't be achieved, then the ramp could be added. They can be temporary or permanent. Permanent ramps can be added to entrances by a contractor or other professional, while temporary ramps are a good solution for visitors or renters or those who don't wish to permanently modify their homes. If you have a relatively short step up, you can also consider a threshold ramp, which is on the right side of your screen, which is an inexpensive and easier to install solution to achieve as close to that zero-step entryway as you can get. Now, there's a formula for ramps, and you don't have to memorize these or write it down, because again, this is the kind of thing that a good contractor will understand. But just so you know, the formula for ramps are 1 foot of ramp is needed for each inch of elevation. So for example, 12 inches of elevation equals 12 horizontal feet of ramp. Switchbacks can be used and may even be required depending on the size of your property. And also they would be required if a ramp length exceeds 15 feet. Therefore, just as an example, a piece of property that could accommodate a 20-foot ramp will still need to have switchbacks because it exceeded that 15-foot maximum. But again, that is something for someone who is an expert to help you out with. Now, also keep in mind, as we mentioned earlier, a ramp doesn't have to be at the front door. It can be any suitable door, including the garage or the side door or whatever, that just allows you to have that better way to enter your home. So the other thing is, even though, of course, that sounded so easy, right? But anyway, ramps are discussed in great detail on page 28 of the HomeFit Guide. Now, you'll hear us reference the HomeFit Guide several times during this presentation. When we complete this presentation today, within the next 24 hours, you will receive an email that has a number of items in it, including a link to that HomeFit Guide that we're referring to, which again has more detail beyond what even we're discussing today. So now let's move on to the next slide. If you have a front yard or limited outdoor space, you may not think there's a way to modify your home so that everyone can access it. However, a vertical platform lift is another option for those with limited space. This vertical platform lift could be utilized in a garage because it allows for a better use of that garage space. And it also provides protection from inclement weather, but it doesn't have to be in a garage. Again, just like any other ramp or method of making it easier to access, you can put it on the front door, a side door, whatever is the most accessible and seems to have the best layout. Now, these vertical platforms have electronic call and send controls. They even have a manual hand crank for lowering in an emergency or when there's no power. Some of them have a canopy so you can stay dry. So just like anything else, there are bells and whistles you can get on these, but you can also get just basic lifts that can help you get in and out of a house that potentially has more steps than you can handle with a ramp or other means. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Another reminder of these green stars that Lee mentioned earlier, and on this slide and the ones that follow, these are indicators of things that are called quick fixes. You'll be asked to choose a couple of these to place on your to-do list as we move through the presentation. And so you're welcome to take a couple of notes as you see these green stars pop up and you go, oh, that's something that I could do. These are meant to be things that you can do without a contractor. And if you find them to be helpful, please feel free to take note of them. So far we've covered the various ways to modify the exterior house for safety. Let's next talk about lighting, and outdoor lighting is a must for safety reasons. You'll want to make sure that at least one entryway light is at a height that doesn't require someone to be on a ladder to change the bulb to make maintenance doable by anyone. Of course, lighting inside or outside is something that can be one of the more dangerous things to change light bulbs. And Lee, on our call today, gave me a great tip the other day. There are these little suction cups that you can put on the end of a broom handle or something that allows you to reach up to light bulbs, grab hold of them and change them without ever having to be on a ladder. So there's all kinds of these great little devices, that can help you in these situations. Now, another consideration of lighting outside is pathway lighting that leads to the front entryway that allows visitors and delivery people to safely approach after dark. Now, this is a quick fix in the case of solar lighting, because in the case of solar lighting, you don't have to run electrical cords, and bury them under the driveway or things like that. Now, for some places that's easier than others. I live in a fir forest, so solar lighting isn't the easiest thing in the world for me to put in and have work. But for many people, this solar lighting option for the exterior works beautifully because, like I said, you don't have to run electrical cord. All right, so the other thing is prominently display your address numbers that help delivery people and first responders find your home. Any way that these can be illuminated, either near the light or actually light up themselves, is even better. Make sure that they're reflective or shiny, or they actually, glow in the dark so that they can be most visible at night. And this also is a quick fix. Now, we're going to take a quick pause here to speak briefly about smart home technology. These range from virtual home assistants like Google Home and Alexa to specialized products like thermostats, security cameras, doorbells, which is why I'm bringing it up here, home locks, and smoke alarms. With these special devices, you can turn TVs on and off, control lights and appliances, adjust thermostats, lock and unlock doors, and also check to see who is at the door. I'm sure many of you have seen these doorbells online, where you can, identify and potentially talk to someone who is at the door when you are still inside, sitting comfortably. These conveniences can help falls, particularly if you find yourself groping for light switches in the dark, or if it's difficult to jump up to answer the door. These systems require secure passwords and reputable vendors to minimize the threats of hacking. But for your day-to-day safety and convenience, you may find these infinitely useful. And we also speak a little bit about safety and using these devices in our Fraud Watch Network presentations as well. Okay, going on to the next slide, let's talk about entryways in particular. Whether a residence is a house or an apartment, the exterior doorway should allow for a smooth transition. We talked about that. Even consider adding an attractive grab bar at each of your entrances. You'll be surprised how many people use it. Now, let's talk quickly about entryway doors. When planning accessible entryways, the most important consideration is the size. Specifically, the width of a doorway opening should be at least 32 inches to allow for a wheelchair to pass through, and a height of at least 80 inches. When possible, doorbell thresholds should be less than 3/4 of an inch and should be beveled when possible to allow for easy navigation, i.e. that smooth transition from outside to inside. When a measurement is just an inch or two too small, swing clear hinges, which you can see in the diagram here, can provide the needed space. They actually make the door opening as wide as possible by swinging the door completely clear of the opening. If a door doesn't have a glass panel or there's a window nearby, for a peephole helps residents see who's outside before opening the door. The video doorbell can be paired with a smartphone app. This is one of those smart home options I talked about earlier that enables a door to be answered remotely and a visitor identified whether or not anyone's at home. Also, a lever style door handle rather than a knob is easier to use than a doorknob or a thumb latch handle for those with mobility concerns. Also, a doorknob lock isn't the best choice for an exterior door. The lock can be too easily or unintentionally pressed or turned, resulting in someone being accidentally locked out. A high-tech solution for an entryway lock is a digital door lock. It eliminates having to find or fumble for a door key. A battery-operated or hardwired digital lock can be opened by using a code or a fingerprint. Some devices also work with a key, while others provide a way to lock and unlock a door via a smartphone app or remote control. And again, keep in mind, these devices use a one-time code. So it's not like that code is hanging out there and can be used again and again and again if they're passed along between people. So again, just another one of those smart home options you can consider. So these are all very convenient as they allow pre-approved visitors, such as a cleaning person or an aide, to request that one-time password. Now, let's move on to entry spaces, and Lee will take it away.
Thank you. Yes, when we talk about entering the house, we want to make sure that, again, it is welcoming and that it is safe. And again, we have to keep in mind potential fall hazards. So you want to make sure that the space is clear of any of those hazards. And we want to also make sure that there is enough lighting in there. And their natural lighting is the best, obviously. But again, you want to be prepared for nighttime. So you want to make sure that the entry into your house is brightly lit. And if there isn't enough lighting, there are ways that you can add that. And we have talked, both of us have talked about various items that are available to you. And I would encourage you to take a trip and observe. visit places like Home Depot or Lowe's or Bed Bath and Beyond, where they have all kinds of home conveniences, and see if there's something there that's easy for you to get, like tack on lighting. There are some, they used to have, and I assume they still do have, lights that you can tape on it with double tape to an entry, next to an entry area, and you push the light and it turns on, and you push it again and it turns off. So those kinds of things are available, and you might be able to enhance your home right now by finding one of those gadgets. Um, let's move on and take a look at, I don't know what's happening on your screen. Mine is jumping all around, but we'd like to talk about organizing strategies for the entry area. Um, you might want to consider getting a narrow table of some sort, that so that and have it near the entrance, so you have a place where you walk in, you can set a bag down, you can set your purse down or your wallet, your keys, what have you. You might also want to have a container of some sort that has items like your coupons or your sunglasses or your remote control to the car. So if you have that neatly organized, but still in a safe place, then it will be convenient for you to come and go. These items if we get the screen, I don't know if it's just my screen or all of them are jumping, but this is definitely a green star area. This is something that's a quick fix. And it doesn't have to be expensive furniture. I would advise you, if you're looking for something like that, visit the thrift shops and be amazed at what you'd find there that you can utilize. Maybe it needs a coat of paint, maybe it doesn't, but it's something that you can utilize to organize the space. Also, in that space, it would be nice to have a place to hang coats. And if you don't have room for a freestanding coat rack, you might want to put uh, coat hooks on the wall. So that's where you can take your coat off when you come in. That's where you put it on before you walk out. And another thing to consider would be a bench. And there is a simple bench that is shown here. If you get the home fit guide that we've been talking about and referencing before, it gives you a picture of it, and it's basically just a simple bench, but it's a place for you to sit down when you come in and take your shoes off and put slippers on, or if you've got boots on because it's raining, you've got a place to sit down and take them off. And then the way this bench is shown, underneath there are two bins. So that's the place where you can store your boots or your slippers. Um, so and also, I want to point out to you that if you have pets, that entry area should be clear of any pet toys or their food bowls or water bowls. Anything should be tucked into a corner, but out of the way where they would not become a trip hazard. And then I'd like to move on to the kitchen and talk about the kitchen. For many of us, that's where we do the most entertaining. Now, many years ago, when I first got married, that wasn't the mindset. The mindset was you just work in the kitchen to get the meals prepared, but you serve the meal at a dining room table. And it was a much more formal point of view than it has come to be today. Today, especially with a pandemic, we are eating not necessarily at a dining room table, but we're eating at a kitchen table, or we may even be eating on trays in front of the TV. So you have to think about your lifestyle and what works for you. So if we move on and take a look at the furnishings of the kitchen, your needs and your interests are going to change. Um, I have never been one who has been interested in doing cooking and baking. I've done it and it's been fun, but it hasn't been my heartthrob like a number of my friends who love to try new recipes, who love to bake and cook all the time. And they're really enjoying it now during the pandemic. But attitudes change as time goes on. And you need to think about what you really need right now and what you want to have convenient to you and comfortable for you. For years, you may have stood at the countertop to beat the yolks and to do the preparation, but now you may prefer to sit while you're doing that. So you need to make sure that you've got a place, perhaps your kitchen table, but a place where you can sit so that you can do the preparation and then move on with the rest of what you're doing. There are ways in which you can add shelves to your cabinets, and you might also choose to remove the doors from your cabinets so that you can reach them in an easier fashion. And again, a place like Bed Bath and Beyond has all kinds of things that that will help you organize your closet space and make it safe. Make sure that you have no cords that are hanging out where they're a trip hazard. And just take a look and say, is this safe if somebody comes in here with a wheelchair? Is this safe if a child comes in here to visit? So moving on, there is lighting, adjustable lighting. And this again is something you might be able to find and either nail up, screw into the cabinetry yourself, or it might glue onto the cabinetry. You might also want to consider shelving, pull out shelves, pull out drawers for storing various things. There are professional modifications that you might want to do. And, if you want to change cabinetry, that really is a professional, that will require a professional. So you really do need to get somebody in, get their estimates, get their ideas of how to make it safe for you as well as convenient. Now, moving on, but still in the kitchen, there are drawer pulls, and we recommend that instead of having a knob that requires much more dexterity and strength, that you use a D-shape pull on the drawer. And this might also be a Green Star, an easy fix, because you can go to a place like Home Depot or Lowe's and buy the drawer pulls and change them if they are not in this form. Now, it may be beyond your interest or skills, but this is something that's really not too difficult to do. Now, on this particular chart, what it shows a D-shaped handle, but it's not really a smooth D shape. There are two prongs that stick out. And I would like to forewarn you, those catch on pockets of clothing. So I would suggest that if you replace your door pulls, make sure that they're a complete smooth D or C, as opposed to one that has an angle, and also as opposed to just a knob that you have to pull. And as far as faucets are concerned, again, when you have to twist the faucet, when you have to turn and maybe use two hands, one for the cold and one for the hot, a single lever faucet makes life a whole lot easier. And if that's not something that you or a family member can change, that shouldn't be too expensive a change to make for your safety and your convenience. Again, in the kitchen, let's talk about where is the microwave. Having the microwave above the oven, like I have it, is certainly a space saver. But what I'm finding is I'm getting shorter, and reaching that microwave oven is harder for me to do. And cleaning it out requires me to stand on a stool, which isn't really safe. So what we recommend is that you keep the microwave oven at shelf level. So because it's a lot safer. And then you might want to consider in terms of dishwasher, if you're going to get a new one, the drawer type dishwashers are much easier for you to deal with. And they're because of the level at which you will be standing or leaning. Also, if you take a look at your range top, and this again, my range top has controls that are against the backflash. So I have to reach over the burners in order to set the dials. So we encourage you, if you're going to replace your range, get one that has the controls up front so you don't have to lean over it. You're not apt to drop a sleeve and catch it on a hot burner. And you're not going to burn yourself as well. So, and also if you're shopping for a new range, consider one that has the lettering either illuminated or if there's not a backlight on it, that it has a significantly strong contrast so you can see the dials and the numbers easily. And then in terms of a refrigerator, the French door refrigerator is a wonderful convenience because first of all, it doesn't require as much space for you to swing the doors open, but you open those doors and you're standing right at the edge of the shelf so you can easily reach whatever is there. So keep those things in mind. And there are suggestions for those on pages 8 through 10 in the home guide, the HomeFit guide. And we mentioned earlier that you will have access to that. And you'll have access to a file that you'll be able to download. And then you can also order that directly from AARP, and it is free. And they send it out within a matter of a week or two. So let's move on to the bathroom. And Anne, will you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So this area of the house, the bathroom, merits additional consideration when thinking about making your home fit. Sometimes more attention can be paid to how a bathroom is decorated rather than the safety of that space. But there are so many potential hazards. Water on the bathroom floor is a slipping hazard and often an invisible one. Falling in a bathroom is painful and potentially life-threatening because of the many hard surfaces, the floor, the toilet, the countertop, the tub. In fact, my sister-in-law had a fall several weeks ago and it was awful. She had many issues following up from that fall. We want to prevent that as much as possible. And as you're looking at these safety and convenience features, you may be surprised how nice they look in your existing space. So let's move on to the next slide. Remember to keep in mind ease of use as well as safety. It's a good idea to go over each component of the bathroom as you decide which tips you'll incorporate. Let's look at the shower area. There are many options available when someone has mobility limitations. And many of those options are temporary and cost-effective. First, a permanent shower bench or a portable transfer chair or shower seat is a relaxing safety feature for everyone. Additionally, an adjustable height handheld shower head makes the shower customizable for users of different heights and abilities. Although it's a harder to do that requires the assistance of a professional, it's important to keep in mind the wide doorless shower with a 0-step entry is accessible for everyone, including wheelchair users. 0-step shower inserts are available from big box stores, and similarly suitable options include a full swing shower door or the use of a shower curtain or partial wall to cover the opening. Okay, let's talk about the toilet next. A comfort height toilet is the best option for wheelchair users, but not necessarily for someone who is short in stature. If there's a household where one person could greatly benefit from the comfort height toilet and one person for whom the comfort height toilet would be too high, you could consider having one bathroom with a regular toilet and the other with a comfort height toilet. If you need to add height to an existing toilet, consider a toilet base riser. That's what's shown here in the bottom left of the screen. These usually cost less than $100. And you can see that the base of the toilet featured here just is on the floor at the base. A seat riser costs less. It fits between the toilet and the actual seat. That costs less and it's easier to install and it's not as expensive. However, one of the issues that people may run into is that option may become, sometimes it slides around, and that would probably be worse than having a short toilet. So you have to really do your research when you're looking at these options. And last but not least, and this has been suggested more than once, is the option of a commode chair. You see these often as a standalone for folks who are, can't get, walk very far, from their bed or their chair, but you can also use them on the toilet itself. You remove the container on the bottom and then place this on top of the toilet. And that way you raise the height of the toilet and you're providing arm support without needing any structural changes at all. And these are often available under $50. So, and keep in mind that as well as potentially a portable seat riser, are Green Star options.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah. I do want to let you know that you are 45 minutes in.
Okay, thank you so much. We want to be sure that we try to keep this on time for everyone. So you will be getting a handout via email about the bathroom. So check that out when you get your email with the information from this presentation. So I'm going to move on now to the next slide. We've all experienced a wet, slippery floor, and that's why we want to ensure that the bathroom includes a grab or assist bars to hold on. There are now many readily available high-quality grab bars integrated into common bathroom features, including, say, a toilet roll or something like that. But the correct installation of these bars is vitally important for your safety. They should be installed into supportive blocking behind the wall. And that, of course, is best done by a professional. But this is critical. If they're not secured correctly like that, they pull away from the wall when someone puts their full weight on them, and there's a fall in the making. So there are many unsafe products sold as grab or assist bars using a clamp or a suction cup. Don't use these. Research has indicated that the grab or assist bars are the safest way when they are horizontal to the floor rather than vertical or diagonal. And again, use a professional. Your HomeFit guide that you will be getting a link to will have more information about this. All right, and I believe I'm moving now into Lee's territory for living spaces.
Yes, and we have already covered a lot of these generalities about keeping things safe and safe for the person living there and also for people who might visit. So you need to be very wary in all of the living spaces that you don't have any cords that people could trip over. And while you're looking at lighting cords, make sure that none of them is shredded. If you see that there is any damage to a light cord, replace that cord. That's for your safety in many, many ways. You want to make sure that if you've got drapery or window dressings that have cords that hang, that those are secured so that children don't injure themselves with those cords. And you also want to make sure that there's enough space around the various furniture so that somebody with a walker could get through, and not hurt themselves. So let's move to the next chart, which shows us some of the features of a house. And think about this as in your living space. Do you have a bookshelf, a tall bookshelf, or maybe it's a china cabinet? That should be anchored to the wall. And any furniture that's tall, that, you know, taller than say waist high, and I'm not even sure it needs to be that high, you know, I think it could be at a lower level than that. It should be anchored to the wall so it doesn't fall and injure people. It could happen because somebody pushes it off balance, but also we do live in earthquake territory. And that is a very important safety feature. You want to make sure that any cords are in safe coverings. If you've got to have something that strings from one place to another, is there a way that you can detach that and only use it when it's really necessary? You want to take a look at furniture corners. Are they sharp? If you walk into those, they do bruise, and that is dangerous. It could really cause somebody to fall. And you need to make sure that that first of all, you shouldn't have throw rugs in your house. And that's one of the things that the doctors tell you when you go for your Medicare annual visit. They want you to get rid of all throw rugs because they are a hazard. If you have to have a rug somewhere for a specific reason, make sure that it is taped down properly so you don't catch a toe in it and then fall. And make sure that the changes that you make are going to be good for everybody who is going to be using that living space. So now let's go to lighting and the electrical. Using natural light, again, is the best thing. We've talked a little bit about the sensors, and this again, I want to repeat. If you have a way to have a motion detector in your house, that's great, especially on days when if you were out driving at 3:30, you would need your headlights. The house is dark. So when you go from room to room, you want to make sure that it is illuminated. Rocker switches, which means the kind that go up and back that you could hit with a heel of your hand or part of your hand, are much easier than the switches that twist. And you'd want to make sure that you've got a glow, you know, it would be wonderful if you had glow in the dark switches. So when you enter a room, they're easy to spot and you know where they are. And we really suggest, and I use these in my home, wall sconce lamps on a swinging arm. If you have something like that over your nightstand, which I do, you can adjust the light, swing, because it's on a swinging arm, it moves in and out to where you need the light, and it provides light when you need it to get out of bed when it's dark. So keep those things in mind. And also, Anne talked about the electronic services. There are all kinds of things that you can get that where it's connected to the computer. And if you have an interest in those, certainly look into those for your safety. Now, moving on to the next, in terms of some people have a traditional dining room. Many do not. I mentioned that earlier. But wherever it is, make sure that it is safe. When you have dining room chairs, make sure that they are stable. The stability is what's important, not the aesthetic beauty. And frequently you can actually get them both to match. So you want to have chair legs that are widespread so that they will balance the person's weight. And you want to have arms on those chairs because they assist with a person getting up and getting down from the chair. You want to select seating, again, that is, as I said, that is sturdy and safe. and at the appropriate height. That's important too. So take a look at how high the seat is off the floor, and how does that meet the needs of the people that will be sitting in that place. If you're going to be serving in your living room, if you're on trays, instead of carrying the dishes one by one, consider lightweight trays and lightweight dishes and utensils. It will make life a lot easier for you. And there are trays available for people who use wheelchairs. And now let's go to hallways and stairways, Anne.
Okay, thanks, Lee. So we are in the process of wrapping up the tour portion of this, and this slide on living spaces, hallways, and stairs is very important. So I'm going to dwell on it for just a second. So what you see here is a hallway and a stairway on your screen. When placing furniture in a hallway, maintain at least 36 inches of passing space so people can use the corridor without knocking into or being blocked by furnishings. As with anything else, stairways need to be well lit and have railings on both sides. Sounds familiar? We talked about this on the exterior as well. Be sure you have light switches both at the top and at the bottom of the stairs. And you see here some round motion sensor lights along, there's 3 of them along the staircase. These are considered a quick fix because you can buy them as battery operated and it doesn't require wiring. And they come on automatically, say in the dark, when they see someone moving toward the stairs. Now, in terms of the steps themselves, the safest surface is a tightly woven low pile carpet with thin padding. Also secure any runners with permanent tacking if you have to have a runner, but it's probably not such a great idea. Now, if stairs are uncarpeted, make sure they have a non-slip surface. And if necessary, you can add adhesive strips or a securely placed rubber tread, yet another of these quick fixes. Handrails should extend past the bottom step for safety. So moving on. Excuse me, my throat was getting dry. I'm not going to dwell on this, but stair lifts are available. They can be practical and safe, and they can be purchased used, which greatly reduces the price. So, and lastly, we're going to talk about the laundry room. Quick fixes for the laundry space can be a laundry basket with wheels or a foldable shopping cart. These are certainly suited to apartment or condo buildings, especially when laundry machines are located elsewhere. When purchasing a new washer dryer, consider the style options and the door placement. Stackable units save space, but they can be difficult for some users to reach. So think about that. But the other thing is, if you buy something that's intended to be stacked and you decide to put them side by side, realize that the controls will not be on top for at least one of the units. They will be, like on the front. So again, just be sure that the controls and the access of the door is usable practically by you, and you don't have to do a lot of stooping and bending and things like that. All right, we have completed the tour, but we still have a few things that we want to talk about. So we may run over 5, at most 10 minutes, because we want to be respectful of your time, but we do also want to give you some resources and kind of help seat some of these ideas in your head. Now, what you see on your screen are the list of those green star quick fixes that don't require a contractor or a handyman. If any of these look like something that is going to work really well for you, go ahead and type it into the chat box. That'll help you remember it by typing it in, but also it'll call them out to some of the other many folks who are watching this, and they'll go, oh yeah, that sounds like it really would work for me. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on writing those in, but just go ahead for your own benefit, take a look, write down anything that's going to be helpful for you. Okay. All right. So resources. There are many, many. So these resources will be included in the package that you get, but you can see that AARP has several places on their website, aarp.org livable, and also HomeFit. And there's even an app in the Apple App Store that could be helpful for you. AARP Foundation has a step-by-step guide. We, of course, have our HomeFit guide that we're going to be sending you the link to. I mentioned earlier occupational therapists. They are very, very helpful in recognizing the health and disability issues that people face over a lifetime and how to match those abilities with the needed supports. And last, certified aging in place specialists. These folks also recognize the unique needs of older adults. They are usually part of a contractor company. And one of these folks has had special certification. And if you're going to do some kind of renovation in your home, these folks have, special attention to those things needed by older folks. All right. We mentioned HomeFit, that we'll be sending it to you, and it will cover all of the things plus more that we covered today. So actually, you don't worry about having slides, because this guide contains everything we talked about today. All right. Now, an important reminder before we move on here and get to our questions, because we are next going to do our Q&As. Keep in mind that these ideas we've discussed today can be helpful to prevent accidents in your home, but it's important to know that falls can happen anywhere. And here are ways to reduce your risk wherever you are. Maintain your muscle strength. Aerobic exercise and light exercise strengthens your core and your legs. Balance, so you can practice this by easily standing on one foot and then the other. Your visual acuity, visit your eye doctor annually. And then if you get new medications, ask your doctor if they contribute to lightheadedness while you're getting used to them, because these are things that can contribute to a fall, which we're all trying to prevent by making our homes home fit. All right, now let's get to the Q&A. Several of you have questions, I think, that you probably put into the chat box. So Ashley, can you tell us if we have any questions to be answered?
Hi, Anne. At this moment, we don't have any questions.
All right. Okay. So if you think of something and want to throw it in, we only have a couple of slides left. Before we say goodbye and give you a last set of resources, we would like to ask you to take a survey to tell us how we did today. And you can see it on your screen. All you have to do is click on your answer for 4 questions. We're going to give you a minute to do that, because your feedback is so important to us. It helps us provide information that is relevant to you. So if you will tell us how we did in this survey, that would be great. And 1 minute after that, we will wrap things up. So just take a minute to fill in this 4-question survey.
And while we're letting folks fill out the survey, we do have a question that just came through from Carolyn. She is asking, is there any funding available for help with these projects?
Actually, there are organizations that can help lead. You remember the name of that organization in Seattle, or even John knew about this organization in Seattle that can help provide funding or actually do some jobs for folks who may have lower incomes. Does anybody remember what the name of that organization was?
Well, one of them, and is Sound Solutions.
Thank you.
Yes.
And that used to be Senior Services, Seattle King County, but now it's Sound Solutions. And there is another organization, just slips my mind now, but go to Sound Solutions. I talked with them a month ago, and they will introduce you to other places that do that as well. They have some organizations that will do it free, and then some that will have a reduced charge.
Okay, great. Now that is in Seattle. So I would suggest that, otherwise I would get in touch with your county health and Human Services Agency, and I expect they would have similar resources. Lee, any ideas on that?
Yes, I was going to say the same thing. If you call your city or your county, because some cities, like here on the eastern part of Washington, Bellevue is a city that has a great number of assistance programs specifically for seniors. And if you call and ask, they might, whatever agency you call might not have the specific information to offer, the help to offer you, but they will know who to refer you to. So yes, you have to check with the local people. I know, again, in my area, there is also a group called Friends of Seniors, and they do all kinds of volunteer things for people and help. And 3 years ago, I had them come out and put up handrails for me before I had back surgery. And they wouldn't take any money for it because it's a volunteer thing. But I felt that I wanted to do something for them, so I just made a donation. But yes, look for agencies in your area.
Thank you. Ashley, are there a couple more comments or questions?
Nancy Stoll said in King County, you can also contact Community Living Connections. That's another great resource. And in the Tri-Cities, there is the Community Action Council who may be able to help as well.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you for those suggestions. I hope that will be helpful for those on the phone. Let's just wrap up here. And again, thank you so much for your time today. Handouts and additional information will be sent to your email. Please note that HomeFit is only one of the topics that AARP does these type of presentations on. If you have a group that would be interested in this or any of the topics that you see here on your screen, please contact Ashley Atkin at the email that you see here. aatkin@aarp.org. Again, we're delighted you spent your time with us. Thank you. And we look forward to potentially seeing you again in the future.